Acting out of character can be deeply confusing, especially when you've spent many years meditating or practicing self-inquiry. Perhaps you've known moments of profound stillness. You may have recognized with great clarity that thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, and yet awareness itself remains. Then someone says the wrong thing, something upsets you. The body tightens, the mind reacts, and within moments all that peace seems to have vanished. Today I'd like to explore why understanding a pattern does not always make it disappear, and how awareness allows us to meet these old habits without shame or self-judgment. Freedom may not mean that an old reaction never arises again. It begins when the reaction is seen, and when it is no longer blindly believed. The return of an old pattern does not necessarily mean that your previous insight was false. It may simply reveal that insight and conditioning do not always unfold at the same speed. You can recognize your true nature very clearly, while the mind and body continue to carry habits that were formed long before that recognition took place. There is nothing unusual about this. It is a part of our human story. A pattern often begins as an attempt to protect us. Perhaps when you were young, conflict felt frightening, so you learned to keep everyone happy. Or perhaps you discovered that it was safer to remain quiet than to say what you really felt. At the time, these responses may have helped you. They may have even been necessary, but life moved on. The original circumstances changed, while the response remained, deeply ingrained as a habit. I have often taught that what we call a person seems, in many ways, to be just a collection of habits, ways of thinking and reacting. Some of these habits are so familiar that we no longer notice them. They simply seem to be me. But self-inquiry asks us to look again. When anxiety appears, is the anxiety truly what you are, or is it something you are aware of? There is a profound difference between noticing anxiety is present and unconsciously believing this anxiety tells me what I am. One is a simple recognition of experience, the other is identification. You are able to notice the anxiety, the tightening in the chest. You can hear the mind predicting what may go wrong, or see old memories and imagined futures appearing within you. But all of this is known. So what is knowing it? The mind may quickly answer, I am. But pause there. When you say I, what are you referring to? Are you referring to the anxious character described by thought? Or are you referring to the quiet awareness in which the character, the thoughts and the anxiety are all appearing? This is where self-inquiry stops just being a distant philosophy. It becomes immediate, practical. It becomes a gentle turning of attention towards what is happening now. Many of us imagine that once a pattern has been understood, it should disappear. We may know exactly why we become defensive. Maybe we clearly understand where the reaction began, what tends to trigger it, and how it affects the people around us. Yet when the right moment arrives, the body may still react before thought has had time to catch up. I have a friend who is one of the calmest and most peaceful people I know, but place her behind the steering wheel, and one careless driver can apparently bring years of spiritual serenity to a sudden end. I joke, but seriously, this can be true for many on the spiritual path. Maybe some of us here will recognize something of ourselves in that. We can be calm in a meditation room, then lose our peace at a traffic light, in a supermarket queue, or during a conversation with someone we love. For some, certain habits may fall away very quickly, others seem to soften gradually, like a tightly closed hand opening one finger at a time. There is no fixed timetable. The difficulty begins when we turn awakening into another goal we believe we are failing to reach. An old pattern appears, and then shame appears because the pattern is still there. We become angry with someone we love. Afterwards, there is regret. Then discouragement follows because we believe a spiritual person should not have reacted in this way. One painful moment has now become several. There is the original hurt, followed by the reaction, and then there is the judgment of ourselves for having reacted the way we did. We really need to stop beating ourselves up like this. It seems compassion for others arises easily, but we find it so difficult to have compassion for ourselves. Self-inquiry helps us slow down and become still enough to see what has taken place. What has actually happened? There is space to ask, has the mind added anything? What feeling is here before it becomes a conclusion about your life? Let it be seen, then ask, very gently, to whom is this appearing? Allow the question to turn attention towards the one who seems to be threatened. Can that frightened person actually be found? Apart from the thoughts, memories, sensations and images appearing now, is there a solid and separate self hidden somewhere within them? The frightened self may feel completely convincing. When you look directly, you may find thoughts being known or sensations being known, but the fixed person at the center of it cannot be found in the way the mind imagines. This does not mean the fear instantly disappears. Sometimes it may remain for a while, but something begins to change in your relationship with the experience. Again, there is a little more space. The fear is present, but it is no longer the whole of what you are. It is a movement passing through awareness, held within something far quieter and more spacious than the mind can understand. You begin to live from that awareness, rather than allowing every moment of thought to determine who you are and how you must respond. Self-inquiry reveals what you are at the deepest level, but the human life deserves love and care, as we love and care for others. There is a natural growth in becoming kinder, more patient. We will find we become more emotionally balanced, but freedom is not waiting at the end of a perfected personality. If it were, peace would always remain somewhere in the future. Maybe you've convinced yourself, I will be free one day once the anger has gone, when nobody can upset me. But awareness is present before any of that happens. It knows when the mind is disturbed, and it knows the version of you who is calm. Awareness does not come and go with either of them. It is the silent knowing of both. So if you find yourself repeating an old pattern, try not to make it another reason to condemn yourself. Look at it gently. What seems to awaken it? The pattern may have been repeated for many years. It may not disappear simply because you've recognized it once or twice. But each time it is seen without being blindly followed, something softens. The pattern becomes less personal. There is less urgency to obey it. And gradually perhaps you begin to understand that this was never the deepest truth of who you are. It was a learned response, something that appeared, remained for a while, and then passed. Awareness itself did not become anxious when anxiety appeared. It simply knew the experience, silently, without judgment, or without being changed by what it knew. And that same awareness is here, now. Perhaps freedom from an old pattern does not always mean that it never returns. Perhaps freedom begins when its return no longer persuades you that you have lost touch with your true self. Thank you for watching. If this reflection resonated with you, please subscribe and share this video with someone who may find it helpful. Until next time, remember this: you are not the collection of habits you have come to believe yourself to be. The mind with all its passing thoughts is not your true self. You are, and always have been, awareness itself, the silent knowing in which all passing phenomena appear and disappear.